This is Sean Manaher and RJ Adams from Book Marketing Tools. In this episode, Sean Platt from Self Publishing Podcast vomits loads of book marketing theory and practices, including publishing by the numbers, whom he is really writing for, why publishing more books is the best marketing plan you can have, and what he says about building a list. As always, there is so much more. Let's not wait any longer. Let's jump right in. Be sure you stick around to the end. Accelerate your book marketing success with Publish, powerful, affordable book creation and marketing tools that help you reach new readers, track their engagement with your work, build your author brand, improve discoverability, become a more effective marketer. Start your 30-day free trial at publish.com. Welcome to the Author Hangout, everybody. Today's guest, we have Sean Platt. Sean is co-founder of Collective Inkwell and Realm and Sands Imprints, writes for children under the name of Guy Incognito, and has more than his fair share of no's. If you're watching and listening on iTunes, you may not know what we're talking about here, but check this stuff out on YouTube. Anyways, together with co-authors David Wright and Johnny V. Truitt, he has written the series Yesterday's Gone, White Space, Forever, For Nevermore, Available Darkness, Dark Crossings, Unicorn Western, The Being, and more. And also the How to Indie Book Write, Publish, Repeat. Sean, it's really good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good. And we're gonna get right into it for folks. We want to learn from you, Sean, and we appreciate you being on the show. First question right out of the gate. Can you explain to our listeners how you got involved with self-publishing and some of the successes you've seen so far?
Yeah, I started because, if I'm starting right at the very beginning, I started 6 years ago online. I had a site called Writer Dad, and that happened because I've actually only been writing for 6 years. Before that, I had a flower shop, I had a preschool. I've always been kind of an entrepreneur. I've never had an actual job. And I really never thought I could write. I dropped out of high school. It just wasn't like, I wasn't a writer. But I married a really, really awesome teacher, and she always encouraged me to write. And I always said, yeah, whatever. And then when I was 30, she bought me a MacBook for my birthday, and she said, I want you to write. I want you to use this to write. And it took me about 6 months to listen, and then I started, and I very slowly just kind of doodled, and then all of a sudden I found myself the September that my daughter went back to, she went to school, she went to kindergarten. She left our preschool and went to kindergarten, and I felt very sad. And so I killed that sadness by writing for the first time, and that was the first week of September, and by December I had a 600-page novel done. And it's terrible, it's an awful book, but it doesn't matter. It taught me that I could be asked to chair for an extended period of time and write a book, and that I could only get better from there. So even if that book never sees light, it doesn't really matter, because it did what it needed to do, which was to say, hey, you can do this. And the thing that I never thought I could do, which was write a book, I thought that was only something that writers did. And what Cindy, my wife, she had to shake it into me is, you're a storyteller. You like telling stories. You're verbal. You've got a lot of language. You go. And if you could just alchemize that into the printed page, you're good. And so it's taken a lot of practice, but she's right. I am a storyteller, and I love it. I love fiction so much more than nonfiction. And at the time, because we had a preschool, I was writing a lot of stuff for children. And I took it to an agent, and they told me that my vocabulary was too rich for children. And I thought that was like the most ludicrously bullshit crap. I just was so angry that I registered my first domain that weekend after I got the email. And I thought, you know what, self-publishing is on its way, and I'd rather be, the first of something new instead of the last of something old. And it's funny because Kindle didn't exist yet, but we all knew something like that was coming. I just thought it was going to come from Apple. I never saw the Kindle coming, but in retrospect, it's obvious, of course, like that's genius. But I knew that something was coming. There was a definite sea change, and I wanted to be in front of it. So I started Writer Dad. Writer Dad blew up pretty quickly, a lot of traffic, a lot of comments, that kind of thing. But no way for me to actually make money on my writing. And so I very quickly started to spiral. Like, I was having a very hard time. We closed the preschool because I wanted to be a writer. And so I had to learn copywriting, and I did a lot of ghostwriting for a lot of marketers, which made me very smart in a very specific way. And I took a lot of that marketing know-how and applied it to fiction at pretty much the moment that I could, which was early 2011. I said, okay, we've got John Locke, we've got Amanda Hawking, we've got these people who are just killing it. They don't have agents. They're doing it on 99 cents a download. And I already knew that that had to be on its way out because the 99-cent market would be flooded. B, like, I'm not gonna race to the bottom. Like, so there's just no way. Like, I don't want to compete for 99 cents. And I realized there was a ripple effect. If you've got a lot of books out there, you sell a lot of books. But both the entrepreneur and the artist in me was like, there is no way I'm writing a book for 99 cents. Like, I'm just not doing that. Like, even if I'm gonna make money, like, I'm just not gonna do it because I'm not gonna set that precedent. In fact, we took the thing that we got criticized for most last year was pricing the Beam at $9.99. And like, that was a simple business decision for me. I was shocked that anybody had an opinion about it one way or the other. Like, what I price my stuff is totally up to me, but everybody had an opinion about it. You are an indie, you're not allowed to charge $9.99. You can top out at $7.99, but you're not allowed to. You're an indie. And for both me and Johnny, the Beam is our project. And it was a simple math thing for us. We're, okay, wait. It doesn't matter word count. Word count aside, this project takes us 3 times the amount of time to write. So it's okay. If the marketplace says that's too expensive, then okay, they're telling us not to write anymore. But we know what we want to get for it. We know what it's worth to us. And so we're going to put it out in the marketplace and charge that. And we're either right or wrong. But it's okay. It's our choice. And we're fortunate to have so much inventory. We have so many books out there that we really can't play and really test and do stuff like that. But anyway, I wasn't going to charge 99 cents for a book. I just don't think that's a sustainable business model, and the bottom would fall out, and I don't want to train people that I'm only worth 99 cents. So, but I also, on the other hand, wanted to get 5 or 6 books in the Kindle store, and this is about, I'm going to say, July. And I wanted to get 5 or 6 books in there by Christmas, because I knew it was going to be a very, very Merry Christmas for indie publishing when people, that big wave on December 25th, all these new Kindles, and then people were going to fill them the last week of the year, and I wanted to be on those brand new Kindles. So I needed to get my first stuff to market, and not just to market, but 5 or 6 titles. And they had to be great, because if they weren't, I was going to suck, and all the people who were better than me were going to sell, and I wasn't. Like, it's very simple math, right? Yeah. So the only thing I could come up with, and Dave and I are both like deep lovers of serial fiction. Like, we love it as an art form, not so much in written form because it's just not done that much on any scale. But we love Breaking Bad and The Sopranos and Lost and like great golden age serialized television, right? And so we just said we want to create that experience for the Kindle, and then we can justify shorter work that's really high quality. That has an individual thing, and of course there's all the marketing know-how, and it'll be funnelized. We'll have the first one, the pilot, for free, and then we can upsell to a full season for $4.99. That click, it worked. And so that was the birth of Yesterday's Gone, and we did all first season, and then we did 6 short stories in a row, and then we started in January 10th of 2012 with season 2. And by week 3, we knew we needed to get another series in development like yesterday, because we were getting comments like Tuesday is the new black, and we realized that we were a habit, and no church in the world meets every other week. Like, if we wanted to sustain that habit, we needed to be right behind them. And so so we just started weekly, and that was kind of the birth of the rhythm that has put a lot of words out there in a pretty short period of time.
And so go ahead, RJ.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you work with other writers and you kind of publish as a team. Can you kind of explain how that works to our audience? Because I know not everybody does that type of style. So.
Oh, very very few people do that, and it's hard. And in fact, before Johnny and I started writing together, when we first started the self-publishing podcast, it was Sterling and Stone, which is the mother company. That company existed, but it didn't have the different lines that it has now. It had Collective Inkwell, was the lone imprint, and Sterling and Stone was pretty much like the business corporate name, just so have the LLC. CI, Collective Inkwell, was the only thing that actually published content, and that was me and Dave. And Johnny was like the odd man out, and he said, "There's no way I could ever write with someone. There's no way I could ever write that fast." And now he's the fastest writer of us all, and and he can't imagine not writing with a partner, because what we found, the way we write together, is it really is a case of 1 + 1 equaling just many, many times more than 10. Like it really is great because we're all doing what we're best at. So I'm going to take Realm and Sands, which is the imprint with me and Johnny. 100% of the Realm and Sands stuff is Sean Platt and Johnny B. Truant. And I'm going to use that as an example simply because we're the most systemized. Collective Inkwell, we have more work out there, but we're not as systematic. So the way we do it at Realm and Sands is we'll come up with a story that we want to tell, and then I'll do something called beats, which are just, Johnny describes them as a drunk guy next to you giving you like a half-assed version of the story. Right. And that is like pretty much what it is, because we don't know the story yet. I'm just making it up. I'm like, oh, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and they're really colorful. They're profanity laden. They're
These
funny.
Are children's books, right?
Right. No, like even for stuff that we're doing for children, like Unicorn Western, which is the first thing we wrote together, isn't for children. It's definitely a grown-ups book, but it doesn't have a swear word or anything adult, and I've read it to my children, but yeah, those were very adult beats. They're, because one of the things that I'm trying to do when I write the beats is make Johnny laugh. Because if he laughs, he's invested in the characters, he's invested in the story, he's invested in what I'm saying, and the story's going to be better. That's one of the tenets that we really believe in, is that if writing is fun, it's going to be fast and it's going to be good. Even if it's not a fun story, our horror is fun to write, even though that doesn't translate as a good time for the reader. The payoff is there because we're putting everything into it. So I make up the story, and then Johnny takes my beats and he writes a full entire rough draft. Then I edit that entire rough draft and I polish the entire rough draft, and then it goes one of two places. Either it goes back to Johnny or it goes to our copy and line editor. Some of our stuff, the Beam, Unicorn Western, they go to Johnny, and he just wants to have one more time with the story. And then some of our other stuff, it just, if he doesn't care as much, and that's not to say that those stories aren't as important to him, but it's the level of articulation isn't as precise. So Johnny is a master articulator. He makes sure that you're not going to get lost by any story element. And the Beam, which is a very, very, very complicated narrative, it has like 8 main characters. It takes place 100 years from now, with a totally different government that we made up, and a timeline of history that has to be followed. So it's very, very complex, which is why we're charging $9.99 for it. Too much to keep track of. And so so something like that, he really wants to go over it another time, because he's not worried about the way semicolons are used so much as is all the relevant information there in the right order in a way that doesn't confuse or bore the reader. And then after that, we just compile, we get a cover, and we publish.
And it sounds like the concepts are very much like building any business, is that you have people who, in a team, you have people who are experts in their particular niche and area, and then it's handed off to somebody who's really, really good at implementation or whatever it is, and then it comes back for a review and everybody's on the same page. That's pretty inspiring.
Yeah, we're very business minded, and we treat it like a business, and I think that's one of the things that hangs up a lot of writers. Yeah, the indie publishing, the whole indie trend is great. Like, it's awesome. I love it. Like, I want to French kiss it every day. It's given me a really cool life. But it's not for everybody, because the thing is, and I don't rail against traditional publishing, because as much as it isn't for me, and I've had a traditional publishing experience at this point. I've done most of my stuff indie, and I've done a couple of traditional, and it's just, there's really no comparison. Even right now when we're building out the Sterling and Stone site, the stuff that is traditionally published feels like my stepchildren. I can't market for those things the same way. I can't give freebies away. I can't sell them directly on my site. Like, there's just, they're stepchildren, and that makes me sad, because if I pour everything I have into something, I kind of want to control it, and I'm spoiled because I've been able to do that, and so I know what it's like to do that. But the flip side of that is, I like the marketing part of it. For us, it's part of the art, because for me, true marketing it's not a dirty word. It's getting the people most inclined to like what you have to offer, to touch as many of those people as possible. And so the end goal there is just really in alignment with my goals as an artist. Selling more books means that I have more people paying attention to my art, and it feeds it. It means that the more readers I have, the more able I am to write whatever the hell I want, and that's my holy grail. So marketing is really important to me, and I want to bake that into the things that we're doing. I want to make sure that we're able to control the marketing by saying, you know what, if people buy on this early day, we want to give them this extra free story, or whatever it is we're doing. We want to have that control. But there are some people who just want to write their book, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if that's who you are, you need to do that, because the other stuff's too hard, it's too painful. And you want somebody to take your book and decide on the cover and decide on the marketing plan. I mean, you have to be careful, because modern publishers, like, they do expect you to do a lot of the marketing, no matter what. So just make sure that, but they're still taking care of the copy editing, they're taking care of the cover, they're taking care of a lot of basic stuff that is, it's harder than a lot of people give it credit for. And yes, you can get a good book out there, but there's so many intangibles that really matter, like the quality of your cover, the quality of your product description, the quality of your final few pages, and what you do to lead the reader to the next possible place. Those things are all really important. So, yeah.
Very cool. So in June 2014, you and your partner recently did a live month-long book writing process. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
That was one of my favorite things this year so far, actually. It was called Fiction Unboxed, and we started with the promise that, hey, look, that whole thing that you thought your whole life, where storytelling is this mystic thing you've got to climb to the top of the mountain and that's bullshit. Like, everyone is a storyteller. Anyone who watches trashy TV is a storyteller. Like, I mean, Honey Boo Boo, that show actually has story. Like, they know how to hook people into the story.
Yeah.
It is a train wreck, but there are story elements there. We know stories. We tell stories to our children. We tell stories to our friends. We told stories to our parents growing up. We all know how to tell stories, but for some reason we don't believe that we can actually tell a story. And, I think it's just practice. Yes, some people are naturally going to be better at it than others. Some people are going to understand language and narrative and flow and dialogue and all of that. But it is a craft. It is something you can work on and get better at and pay attention to and make those incremental improvements. And so we just kind of wanted to demystify storytelling. And so by putting our money where our mouth was, we were going to record our process live for 30 days. And this really stemmed from when we finished Write, Publish, Repeat. It was it was supposed to be a 50,000 word book. That's what my beats stated. It ended up being 120,000 words, and we only got to the first. We basically left out the last 25% of the book because it was just too big already, and the whole last part was supposed to be productivity. And we knew that if the first 75%, went 2.5 times, that last part was going to be a 100,000 word book, like all on its own. And so when we finished the book, the CTA on the very back was, hey, go check this out, go on this list, and we'll let you know when our productivity book comes out. Well, that became the #1 email that we got. When is that productivity book coming out? And as I said earlier, like we're fiction guys. Like we just want to tell stories. The idea of writing another nonfiction book after Write, Publish, Repeat, like I'd rather someone just like some random stranger come up and punch me in the throat. Like that would be awesome compared to writing that nonfiction book at the beginning of this year. And so I was no, and Johnny was no, and Dave definitely was no. And so we thought, why don't we just show them? Because people don't want to know, what kind of coffee we drink in the morning or if we exercise before we write. They want to know how we tell stories fast. And so it was funny. We didn't realize this until we were writing the marketing copy for what Fiction Unboxed was going to be, when it didn't even have the name Fiction Unboxed yet. But we were trying to like get our heads around the messaging, and we realized that we had in 2013 we had written a Harry Potter and a half saga worth of books.
Wow.
And that was all in 1 year. And so we thought that was a really good hook. And so that was the hook that we built everything on. We said, if you want to know how we can write, and we have a 4.7 out of 5-star average on Amazon, that's very hard to maintain, and we have that across 1,000 reviews. Which so our promise isn't just how do you write a story fast, but how do you write a good story fast, a story that people want to read, a story that people aren't going to crap all over the reviews on. And so, we sat down and we did it. And on June 1st, we started. We literally had no idea of the name of the book, the genre of the book, the characters, the story, nothing. We started and we filmed every meeting. We printed every email. You got every stage of the draft, the edit, the polish, every stage of the narrative. And it's actually cool. We pulled it off. We pulled it off well. Over here, we pulled it off really well. This is the book right here. It's called The Dream Engine, and it's been out for like a month. Right now, it currently has a 4.9 out of 5-star average.
Wow.
It's Johnny's favorite, and it's also the first book we ever put in hardback. Here's the hardback, and it's beautiful. So that's kind of awesome. But here, if I may, I'll take 1 second and read something from the author's note, because I think this is.
Can you show that hardback again?
Yeah,
For some
sure.
reason, it went to my picture, and nobody wants to see that, and much rather see that.
Yeah, of course. There you go. It's really outstanding. It was really cool to hold that. Like, it made me feel all grown up and stuff. All right, so why was the machine called Blunderbuss? Because it was a silly word we'd used to refer to the book before it had a name. And why is the forbidden drink called Thunderclap? Well, that's another story. I think the Dream Engine is my current favorite because it was born to such adversity, yet triumphed above and beyond, not in spite of the project's limitations, but because of them. Sean and I both believe that fences make great art, and the notion that adversity is usually an ally rather than a foe is a common theme in our fiction. In one of my favorite novels, Frank Herbert's Dune, the Freemen are such amazing warriors because they've lived their whole lives in the brutal Arican desert, unable to even count on water as a given. That's how I feel about the Dream Engine. It was forced to bloom from harsh soil and became amazing because it had no choice. And we really believe that. We believe that story will always find itself and that there is no formula. Too many people ignore their instincts and they over-edit as they go. And so Fiction Unboxed was our chance to prove otherwise, to say that, no, in 30 days we can go from no concept whatsoever to an engaging narrative that people really want to read. And not only that, but we built a world. We did something we're referring to as open source fiction, where the people who joined Fiction Unboxed, they got the world templates that we built with the setting and all of that, and they can write their own story in this world that we built. And it was just a really cool experiment, and I was a little bit scared when it started, but in the way that I like to be scared, because I know I'm doing something relevant. It's scary because it hasn't been done before. And, writers are private people. They don't want to show their work. And, we really laid it all out there, and I think that the overwhelming response from the people who were a part of it was phenomenal. We had 1,000 people watching us do it, and
Wow.
It was really cool.
I want to introduce you to Publish, an innovative, award-winning book creation and marketing platform that is changing the way writers share their stories and reach and engage new readers. Thousands of authors around the world use Publish to grow their audience, track engagement, and build a dynamic author brand that drives sales. I love that the company's founders are professional writers who know what it takes to be successful and make money from writing. They understand that today's authors need feedback and a strategic marketing plan to be successful, so they built real-time social metrics and educational tutorials right into the platform. With Publish's affordable entrepreneur dashboard, you'll have a whole suite of simple, professional, cutting-edge marketing and creation tools at your fingertips. Publish gives authors competitive edge in today's crowded book marketplace. I recommend you sign up for a 30-day free trial today at publish.com.
Earlier, you were talking about how marketing is a big part of your process, but you also mentioned in your book, Write, Publish, Repeat, and that whole process of writing and publishing more. Can you just kind of expand on that and kind of convince those people who might not be on board with that idea, why it's so important and why it's been such a success for you?
Yeah, I think that readers, they don't really care about you. Like, you want them to, but it takes a long time to really nurture that relationship. For the most part, you're something they clicked on, right? Your cover captured their interest, your blurb captured their interest, their buddy told them they would like it. But that doesn't mean they have any allegiance to you whatsoever. And you have to convince them. If you're waiting a year, 2 years, there are too many indie publishers right now who are cranking out good books. Now, there's a lot who are cranking out terrible ones, and they're not going to make it. Like 2 years from now, no one will know who they are. But there are people who are doing. They're quiet. They're pro writers who sit at their desk every day and put out good stuff, and are building up people who they want to read that. Now, books are not movies, right? We could watch a movie every day. We can't read a book every day. So there are a finite number of book sales that can happen. And you want to be, people can only read so much, and you want to be one of their favorite authors. You want to be someone who consistently engages them, who entertains them, who makes them feel, who makes them think, who gives them a reason to read your book instead of Joe Schmo's. And there aren't enough writers who do that, because the old model, the legacy model, the traditional model is to publish a book a year, max, in one genre, and readers aren't, the percentage of the market who just gobbles books, right? They're reading more than that from their favorite authors. And if you give, the worst thing you can do is have a reader fall in love with you, and you have nowhere else for them to go. And if you think that one book or 2 books or 3 books will feed you, then that's just expecting for lightning to strike. And you can't build a business around that. Like I said very early on, it's just math, right? And the simple math is the more books you sell, it feeds itself. And there is no half-life to fiction. Like, it doesn't expire. Information expires. If you're writing a how-to book about something that's like how to use this app or that app, that is going to expire. You can only make money on that book for so long. But a story, Stephen King still makes handsome sums from Salem's Lot and Carrie, right? You tell a good story, and I know that we're doing work right now that my grandchildren will be able to profit from. And that gives me a lot of drive. That makes me, I'm willing to work like stupid hours, because I know that I'm creating something awesome and it has legacy, and that my children can benefit and their children can benefit. And so I'm just really driven to do what I do, because I think that I get to tick all the boxes. I get to do good work that has lasting value, and the more I do it, the more my earlier work starts to pay off. So it's a little bit like buying a mutual fund, right? You buy a mutual fund and you pay into it, and you're like, man, this is costing me a lot of money each month. But if you do that for 10 years, all of a sudden you've got a pretty nice little handsome sum there. And this is the same thing. You're not going to see payoff right away. But if you put out let's say three books a year, and you do that for 5 years, you've got 15 books out there. That's a catalog. That's something to really, if a reader finds you and falls in love with you, they've got 14 other books to go spend money on and pay their attention to. If you write a book a year or a book every 3 or 4 years, you don't have a chance. I don't want to say you don't have a chance. Of course you have a chance. But it's so much harder to earn the attention and then hold on to it. It just is.
So what else would you say to convince, I mean, that was pretty convincing as it is, but what else would you say to convince authors that they need to write more and publish more?
Well, it's also practice. The more you do something, the better you get at it. I'm not writing every day right now because I'm spending most of my time building the Sterling and Stone site, which I'm trying, like I've had to divert my mind into considering it a writing project so that I'm okay with it. But when I write every day, between June and November of last year, right before I started on getting Write, Publish, Repeat ready for market, that whole several month period, I wrote every single day, Monday through Sunday, and I averaged 3,000 words a day. And that was only for about, at the end, it was a 90-minute block that I was getting those 3,000 words in. And what was amazing about those words is that I was in such flow by the end of the year that those 3,000 words that were written in 90 minutes didn't require much editing at all. At the end, it got to the faster I wrote, the better I was writing. And it's because it's a muscle, it's like athletes who train every single day, they're not burning when they run. If I were to go outside right now, because my fat ass sits here every day at the desk and I never move anymore, if I were to go outside right now and run around the block, I would be heaving and throwing up before I got back to the gate.
Go do that and come back on the show.
That would be awesome, right?
In front of the camera.
So, I am just not equipped to do that. But I was equipped to write because I did it every day. Yeah. And so I think that just the practice is good. You need to be consistent. If you consider writing your craft or your business, then you just owe it to be consistent and to put out as much as you can. I'm a good storyteller because I tell stories all the time. I'm a good writer because I write all the time. And so I think that I've grown tremendously in 3 years that I've been publishing because I'm constantly doing it. I've written 5 million words. That's a lot of stories. That's more than most people will do, most pro writers will do in their whole life. And I think that kind of accelerated production helps me to be better than I would be otherwise. And I want to be as good as I can possibly be.
Speaking of being as good as you can possibly be, you mentioned your Sterling and Stone website that you're currently working on. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what elements an author or a studio website should really have in place?
Yeah, sure thing. This is my big project right now. And I legitimately think I can consider it a writing project because there's so much writing skills that are going into it. It's the same. I'm trying to tell a story with the site. I'm very, very proud of the site. It's less than a month old. I think we're in our second week. So it's still just baby new. But already some of the things that we're doing are really, really cool. By the end of this year, for sure, we absolutely want it to be the best indie author site in the world. And we absolutely believe it will be. Some of the things that we're doing on it, last week we launched we've always wanted to be the HBO of ebooks, right? And we really like the idea of a continuity model, a subscription model where we're delivering our art on a monthly basis to our truest fans. And we launched that last week for $4.95 a month, and you get everything that we write across all 5 of our lines. And that's really, really cool. And yes, it's costing us money because the people who are buying that are our best fans. So they would spend more than that on Amazon. But it's okay because I would much rather have a buyer's list with our true fans that, we can, when it's Christmas time and they want to give they've already read all of our books and they love all of our books, but they want to give all of them to somebody as a present. We can make that happen with a couple of clicks. And that's really exciting because we can't do that on Amazon. So, for example, Yesterday's Gone is now up to Season 5. Season 5 is going to come out on October 15th of this year. And, they're $6 a season. They're $5.99. So if we wanted to sell all 5 of those instead of $30, we wanted to sell it for $18.99. That's a great price.
Yeah.
But if we put that on Amazon, we would only get 30% of that $18.99. If I put it on Sterling and Stone, we get 98% of that.
Wow.
So it's not even a product I would offer on Amazon, but it's totally a product I would offer now. So think about it. We have a great fan. They've read all of our Yesterday's Gone. They just read 5. They tore through it. You know, they're chomping at the bit for season 6. And on Black Friday, we send everyone who we know bought season 5 from us, we send them an email because they bought it from us. So we have the email. We don't need Amazon to do this for us. We send them the email. We say, okay, today on Black Friday, you're shopping for Christmas presents. Do you want to get, anybody in your life, Yesterday's Gone, season 1 through 5 gift set? It's $14.99 today. We're going to convert a lot of people for that $15 purchase. And a couple of really awesome things happen there. They like us a lot more because we just allowed them to give a really great $15 present that the person they're giving this to is probably somebody that they've already spent a long time talking to, about this story, because we have that on Yesterday's Gone. Yesterday's Gone is again, we were trying to recreate that explosive, cliffhangery, serialized television Dexter feel, right? So a lot of our Yesterday's Gone people, they'll send us emails that say things like, people in my family want me to shut up about this story. And so those people, now it's very easy. We've given them a very easy way with an email to send the entire library, watch a simple video that shows them how to get it on their Kindle, and all they had to do was click a couple of buttons. And so they appreciate us, and we just made more money than we would have made on Amazon, and we formed a deeper bond with our ideal reader. And so it's just a way of growing that we can't do with the booksellers.
And do you think it's then viable for all indie authors to sell books on their own website?
Absolutely not. I think that all authors have to look at what their goals are, what their assets are. We have a lot of books, so we have a lot of flexibility in the different things that we want to try. If I had 3 books right now, I would not be interested in developing the direct selling mechanism at all, because it's hard. You got to make sure you're with the right payment processor. We're on a platform right now that costs $100 a month. If I had 3 books, I don't know that I could justify that. Right. But now we're going to have, our big thing, it's not ready, but it's, one of the things we're preparing is a big library that has all of our books. You're talking like 50 plus books in it for $54. And the price of that library will constantly rise as we add more to it. But that's a $54 purchase. We make 2 of those, we paid for the site. And we'll sell a lot more than 2. So it just depends on what your inventory is. It depends on what your goals are. Again, if you're that author who is more in alignment with what traditional would offer you, then you don't want to worry about direct sales. It's a distraction because you also have customer service issues when you get to direct sales, right? Like, oh, this isn't loading on my Kindle. How do you do this? And you don't want to be answering those questions for a $2 profit. It's just too hard. You should be writing. So I think you really have to weigh what you expect to get from it. For us, it's a lot of the other stuff is by the way. We're still even trying to decide if we want to sell individual books. We love the libraries. We love the subscription. A lot of individual books and stuff, we like the idea of giving stuff away for free. Really reward our best readers. But you just have to know who you are and what you want from your career. Otherwise, you're making it up as you go along, and you'll make bad choices.
Yeah. Go ahead.
After you, sir.
All right. How important is growing your list of readers for the person who's not at the point that you guys are, but who wants to kind of work towards getting to that point where you can make those other marketing decisions like selling directly?
A list is everything. Right now we're graduating from a regular general list to a buyer's list. A buyer's list is very, very, very different than a general subscribers list. But you absolutely can start with a subscribers list. We've been publishing for 3 years, and only now are we thinking of transitioning over to a buyer's list. Now, the difference between the two is like the difference between, I don't know, McDonald's and like a real cheeseburger that just you want to like stuff in your face, right? Like there's a difference. And a subscribers list is basically you get people on that list because you gave them something for free. The difference between somebody getting something for free and even paying 99 cents is exponential, because the moment you actually have somebody who's opening their wallet, like it's a different thing. Even for 99 cents, they were willing to say you are worth paying for. And it's really hard to know how many people on your general subscribers list are that person. Well, on a buyer's list, all of them are. Like every single person on that list has bought something from you before. And people are always inclined to repeat their behavior. So if you have a buyer's list, it's a reasonable argument that if you make the right deal, they're going to convert. And so it's just really, really important. But beyond that, just starting with the subscribers list, absolutely you have to do that. If you want to succeed as an indie author, that's non-negotiable. It's as non-negotiable as having a cover on your book. It really is. The thing about a list is that everybody has a list. Everybody's starting a list. Every author has a list. So what do you do to stand out from the other authors? How are you better? Give them better stories. Give them longer stories. Give them hangouts. Do something that other authors aren't doing. And don't be afraid to truly be yourself. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to overgive while you're still building your name and earning their attention. Because if you don't have it, you don't deserve it, and you're probably not going to get it. Like, you have to work on those ways. And it's not about tricking people. You don't trick somebody onto your list, because if you trick somebody on your list, like, who cares? They don't like you. They don't like you. They're not going to listen to what you say, and they're not going to click your links. You have to get people on your list by being genuine and by giving them things of value.
So on platforms like Amazon, where sales do help, and as you get more sales, you can get more sales and rankings and whatever. Do you worry about taking sales away from that platform and losing out on the additional publicity?
There's a little bit of that. I think that in Dave, I would say in these order, Dave is concerned about that. Johnny has shown some concern in the past, but tends to be a long-term thinker. And I'm like, so what? Yeah, I'm a little concerned about it, but I don't really care, because I'd rather have less money, less traction, and a deeper relationship with my audience, because I think that long-term matters more than anything else. So like I said, yeah, we're costing ourselves money right now, because people who are subscribed to our we call them Sterling and Stoners, right? So if you're a stoner, you get it every month. And so our Sterling and Stoners, yeah, they would spend more on Amazon, and we would get more also bots and more visibility, and we would sell more books that way. But it's okay. I don't make decisions for today or tomorrow or the next year. I make them for like 5 years down the road. And we're trying to build a really big company that does really cool things that haven't been done before, and that costs money. So yeah, yes, I do think that it costs us something, and I'm totally comfortable with the expense.
RJ, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, so one question we've been kind of just asking everybody: if you started as a brand new author today, what few things would you make sure that you do based on all of the stuff that you've learned before?
Or otherwise, what would you tell your past self with your future self?
Well, this goes back to the whole write, publish, repeat kind of dogma. But I would shut up and just write. Like, I wouldn't go to market unless I had a few things done, because I think I would waste a lot of that time. And in fact, we did this. Dave and I did this. We had Available Darkness was done. It was ready to go to market, and we were thinking of ways to drive attention to it. And the ways that we thought to drive attention to it were to ignore it and write Yesterday's Gone. And that ended up being like one of the smartest things we ever did. And so I would do that to even scale. Like, I would get Yesterday's Gone done, and then maybe one other project done, and then go to market and have the bank, because it's really hard to keep pace with yourself And the thing that Sterling and Stone is doing right now that I think is really, really smart is we're spending the next 2000 and the rest of 2015 essentially preparing for 2015, because I think I said the rest of 2015. The rest of 2014 preparing for 2015. We want product in the bank. We want to be ahead of the blog. Right now the blog is posting twice a day, and we're trying to get ahead of that so that it's like we're a good 30 days out instead of doing it as we go along. So I just think having something in the bank that you're not having to market as you go, I think that can be a really, really, really big thing for an author, and they don't really know it until they're on the other side of that.
And do you see adding, sorry to add this last one, but do you see adding more people to your team?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was me and Dave forever, and then it was me and Dave and Johnny. And just this last month with the launch of Sterling and Stone, we've added a project manager, Archer Caldwell, and Jacob Toulos, who is our officially he's our admin, but I just hate calling him that because he thinks, and so he's way too thoughtful and productive to be an admin, but officially that's like the company role. And yeah, we'll eventually want a couple of full-time writers. The Guy Incognito children's line would definitely serve with its own writer. We have a romance erotica line with Lexi Maxwell, and she could benefit from having a full-time writer with her too. So yeah, absolutely. We want a full-time continuity editor. We want an art director. It's only smart to grow one person at a time. And so probably we won't be adding anyone to the team for the rest of the year, but next year, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Sean. I mean, this has been amazing. Learned a lot, and just got into your mind of what you guys are doing there. It's pretty cool. As we close this out, where do you want people to go? How do you want people to connect with you?
SterlingandStone.net is where everything is. If you are genuinely interested in this kind of stuff, I have a column that I just started this last Sunday. Well, because the site just started, but it's called the Authorpreneur's Almanac, and basically I'm detailing like all the nooks and crannies of our business. I'm saying what works and what doesn't. It's a lot like what we do in the in the podcast and in Write, Publish, Repeat, where we're talking about what we're doing and deconstructing it, but it's more linear. If you've ever heard our podcast, we're all over the place, and we're off topic all the time and blah blah blah. But this is very linear, and they're long and detailed. Last week's was 7,000 words. This week's is 6,000 words, and next week's after that is a full 47-minute video that I made, a keynote. But we're really detailing the business. Now, to get that, this is a good example. This is a funnel. Okay, this is a great note to end on because it, I think, illustrates a lot of what I'm talking about with SterlingandStone.net and the direct selling and the funnels and all of that. So we have 2 existing members areas at Sterling and Stone. We have you could be a Sterling and Stone starter. Okay, now all of the ends of our books now we're converting the final calls to action to lead readers to this page where they can be a starter. And if you're a starter, you get all of the first books to all of our series. You get them for free. So we have that's 15 downloads you can get. If you become a Sterling and Stone starter, it's free. All you have to do is give us your email. But like I said, we're giving you a really good reason to. We're over-delivering. 15 things you can read right away, right? And it says, like, find your new favorite series now. So that's a really easy in. And Sterling and Stone, we're talking to 2 ideal readers there. We're talking to people who like our fiction, and we're talking to people who are fans of the podcast or Write, Publish, Repeat, people we call repeaters, who are into like the way we think about indie publishing. And so, if you're a starter, the platform that we use is called Rainmaker to build the site on. And what's really cool about it is we can use it's kind of built into the engine of Rainmaker. We can show different people different things. So if you're a Sterling and Stone starter, our blog posts look very different to you than if you just found us online. And so we're trying to get people to go from a casual visitor to, oh my God, there's all this stuff I want to see that I can't see, so you become a starter. And once you're a starter, it's a lot easier to get you to be a stoner. right? So that's just kind of a very obvious but workable flow. And so on Sundays, I basically say, this is what I'm going to talk about, but then only starters get to see everything that we are actually talking about. And so if you want to see that kind of that Authorpreneur's Almanac and see us really detailing the business, just go to sterlingandstone.net. At the bottom of every single page, there's a big blue box that opt in here. Just opt in there, and then you'll see all the almanacs.
Very cool, Sean. This is great. Thanks for being on the Author Hangout, and this is good. RJ?
Cool. Yeah, thanks for being on, Sean. Definitely.
Oh, my pleasure.
Are you confused about what you should be doing to promote your book? Luckily for you, our Ultimate Author Checklist is here to help.
We walk you step by step through building your book marketing engine so you can actively and passively sell more books.
Go to theauthorhangout.com/free guide to get our free Ultimate Author Checklist.